Hello and thanks for joining us for our mid-morning edition of ARIRANG News from Seoul, Korea. I'm Mark Broom. Our top story this morning, the United States is urging countries to reduce or even completely cut ties with North Korea in the wake of its continual provocations. Washington also appears to be actively investigating Chinese companies thought to be doing business with Pyongyang in violation of international sanctions. Kwon So-ah has more.
The United States is pressing countries around the world to downgrade or sever their diplomatic and economic relations with North Korea. Speaking at a U.S. Senate committee hearing in Washington on Wednesday, Assistant Secretary of State for East Asian and Pacific Affairs Daniel Russel said U.S. embassies are urging other countries to condemn North Korea's recent nuclear test and take additional actions to pressure the regime. Russel added, as of last Sunday, 75 countries have denounced the test, and several others have canceled or downgraded planned meetings or visits with North Korean officials. He also said there has been progress in efforts to implement UN Security Council sanctions on the North, including the expulsion of its diplomats from Bangladesh, South Africa, and Myanmar. Speaking at the same hearing, the State Department's Sanctions Policy Coordinator Daniel Freed implied that Washington is continuing its investigation into Chinese entities that may have links to the financing of or provision of materials for Pyongyang's nuclear and missile development. He didn't elaborate on specific probes that may be ongoing. Freed said it would be useful if Chinese banks and firms understood the risks of dealing with North Korea. He also mentioned the U.S. is looking into North Korea's coal trade and the country's state airline Air Koryo, as it has curtailed the carrier's activities and restricted its ability. Earlier this week, Washington put Dandong Hongxiang Industrial Development Company and 4 of its officials on a blacklist for acting against sanctions on North Korea, as it allegedly assisted North Korea's weapons program. It marked the first time the U.S. slapped sanctions on a Chinese company. Kwon So-ah, ARIRANG News.
South Korea's National Assembly is on the 4th day of its parliamentary audit today, but it's expected to be another day of frustration and inactivity. The ruling Saenuri Party is still boycotting the audit, demanding National Assembly Speaker Jung Se-kyun step down over what they say is his failure to stay politically neutral. The party accuses Jung of expressing support for the opposition party's vote in support of a dismissal motion against the agriculture minister over allegations of fishy real estate transactions. The ruling party's chairman, Lee Jung-hyun, is currently on hunger strike in a bid to pressure Jung to resign. The party leadership have pledged to join him. Korea's consumer sentiment in September fell for the first time in 3 months. The Bank of Korea said Thursday that this month's index came in at 101.7, down 0.1 point from a month earlier. However, a reading above 100 means optimists still outnumber pessimists. Figures that measure sentiment toward current and future economic conditions both dropped 2 points on month. The across-the-board fall comes amid the government-led corporate restructuring of Korea's ailing shipping and shipbuilding firms. Concerns over a potential US rate hike are also dampening expectations. A local court has rejected the prosecution's request for an arrest warrant against the embattled chief of Korean retail giant Lotte Group. The Seoul Central District Court turned it down early Thursday, saying it did not believe it was necessary to detain the 61-year-old chairman Shin Dong-bin. Prosecutors accuse Shin of embezzlement and breach of trust. They say Shin orchestrated a series of shady deals and gave multi-million-dollar stipends to extended family members who were just listed as nominal board members. Following the court's ruling, prosecutors are considering whether to seek another arrest warrant or to request Shin be arrested without physical detention. OPEC has agreed to slash output for the first time in 8 years after 2 days of round-the-clock talks in Algeria. Oil prices got a healthy bump on news of the surprise breakthrough. Park Jung-hong reports.
The oil cartel has reached a consensus that unless they cut production, petroleum prices will not likely go back up. Two sources within OPEC were cited by the media as saying that the oil-producing nations are estimated to collectively reduce their output to 32.5 million barrels a day from the current 33.24 million. But the exact reduction amount won't be announced until at least November 30th, when OPEC meets again in Vienna, and after a committee is formed to study how to carry out the cuts. Oil prices surged upon news of OPEC's decision. Brent crude spiked almost 6%, nearing $49 a barrel. U.S. West Texas Intermediate jumped 5.4% to slightly over $47, its highest point in 3 weeks. The meeting in Algiers didn't include Russia, which is the world's largest producer of crude oil. Although it isn't a member of OPEC, sources say Moscow has been involved in talks about jointly reducing production. The 14-nation cartel controls over a third of the world's crude output, and slumping oil prices have been a massive toll on their economies. Park Jong-hong, ARIRANG News.
Now, the reviews have been rolling in ever since the first US presidential debate on Monday, and it seems the debate has had some impact on the candidates' poll numbers. According to a Politico Morning Consult poll released on Wednesday, as you can see, Hillary Clinton has a 3-point lead over Donald Trump in a 4-way matchup, still within the margin of error, though. Before the debate, Trump was up 1 point. Nearly half of the likely voters surveyed thought Clinton won the first debate, a whopping 49% to Trump's 26%. An additional 26% said they either didn't know who won or had no opinion on the matter. Only 9% of the respondents said the debate affected their decision on who to vote for. The second presidential debate will take place in St. Louis on October 9th. And that is where we're going to leave it for now. We will have more news for you at noon Korea time in a little under 2 hours from now. So until then, goodbye.